Hello and welcome to the Effortless Being podcast. I'm your podcast host, Deandra, and as always, I'm super excited to be here. If you're new here, hello and welcome. Let me introduce myself. I help people learn and implement new skills, lifestyle changes, and habits to improve their mental health, their overall well being, and their relationships. On this podcast, I also love to talk about faith and spirituality. I think those are really important aspects of one's life. And lastly, I consider myself to be vulnerable, so please expect vulnerability on my podcast. We already have over 200 episodes, so there's half in English and half in Spanish. And on YouTube, if you're watching us, there's about, I want to say like 30 something episodes where you can see the video, but most of the episodes are going to be in like a listening format. So whether you listen on Spotify or Amazon or Apple Podcasts, and it's also listed on other directories. I'll leave the link down below so that you can click on it and check it out. I truly believe there's an episode for everything. It might be my bias, but I still believe it. So lastly, before we get started on today's episode, I do want to give a legal disclaimer. My podcast is an educational and informational podcast only. I'm not intending to give you therapy. I'm not intending to create a therapeutic relationship through my podcast. This is simply information and education. It has come to my attention that not many people know how to have an argument or a disagreement and how to repair after that. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. In this episode, I'm going to teach you how to argue in a healthy way and how to repair. So we're going to be talking about vasopressin bonding, which is vasopressin is actually the hormone that gets released after problem solving, resolution, and repair. We'll be talking about certain beliefs some individuals may hold that stop them from communicating in a healthy way. And lastly, we're going to talk about how to fight. We're going to talk about how to have arguments, how to have disagreements in a healthy manner, and how to repair and problem solve and come to that resolution stage together. Vasopressin bonding, like I said, it is a hormone. And so what happens is that when we are under stress and we are able to solve something, or we can repair something, we can problem solve something, this hormone gets released. And this hormone actually contributes to loyalty, it contributes to more intimacy in relationships. This is why coaches who help businesses have a better work environment, like a friendlier work environment, often use exercises that make people work together to solve a problem. Because after you solve that problem, these hormones get released and they're like, wait, I actually kind of like this person. When people can face challenges together and solve the challenge and overcome it together, it creates this long-term bond. And this is also why I love to listen to Adam Lane Smith. He's an attachment coach and he used to be a therapist. And he has done a lot of research on attachment and on bonding and on avoidant attachment, all attachment styles. He recognizes that a lot of people try to bond and have better relationships based on oxytocin and dopamine, which like they're not bad, right? They're not bad. They're necessary, but a lot of people try to like have better relationships by having more sex or by having more dinners, spending more time together, which are so important. But he emphasizes the importance of vasopressin bonding, which is when we can overcome a challenge together. This hormone is released. And this hormone, like I said, it contributes to loyalty, it contributes to commitment, long-term commitment, and it contributes to the overall well-being of the relationship, whether this is a friendship, a romantic relationship, or it's your child. It's your child or your boss. Adam Lane Smith says that if you want to build a deeper relationship with your partner, then go to like an escape room or do something that you've never done together so that you can both overcome this challenge together and keep that bond and keep growing that bond. I mean, this could be done with a friend, this could be done with your children, this could be done in the work environment as a team. This is what happens. Vasopressin and oxytocin are released once we can solve problems, once we can repair and come to a resolution. Let's talk about some beliefs that might be holding us back from having these difficult conversations, from having arguments, from having disagreements. Starting right away, the first one is that disagreements are bad, arguments are bad. My relationship is bad if I have a disagreement or an argument. This belief might come to you if you never grew up seeing your caregivers argue, or if this is not something that you saw growing up, like arguing and coming to resolution, or you you didn't see any arguments at all, or they did have the arguments but they didn't come to a resolution. They didn't show you how to solve the problem. And so you grew up with this belief that arguments were bad. You grew up with this belief that, like, oh, if I have an argument, it's going to end like this. So this is why you might stray away from having those arguments. If I have arguments, my relationship is bad. Having arguments equates to having a bad relationship. And again, it's just that same belief that, like, we weren't modeled how to have arguments. So we equate arguments to the bad relationship. Another misconception is that if we don't talk about the problem, it'll just go away. Not talking about the problem leads to resentment. Not having the difficult conversation leads to resentment. Not telling people how you feel leads to resentment. So it's not going to go away. It might be a quick little fix right now, but that resentment is going to build up, and eventually this is when we have those outbursts, right? This is when we act out of character and we might say something hurtful that we don't mean. Another thing that stops us from having these difficult conversations is our pride and our ego. Remember, your ego just wants to protect you. And for me, the ego is just another word for fear. So, again, remember that this is just like your brain's way of protecting you. Like, it equates not having this difficult conversation with safety. So, it's just better for you to not have this conversation at all. And again, also, it could also be pride because of the emotions that you might be feeling. It might be anger, it might be frustration, it might be sadness, and that pride might creep in and cause you to not have this difficult conversation and cause you to stay silent or to just stop trying to communicate with them because you're hurt, and that hurt is valid, and that hurt is very valid, but it's healthier when we can communicate that hurt instead of stonewalling and instead of giving the silent treatment. The Gottmans specialize in working with couples, and they came up with the four horsemen of of apocalypse, which are criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. So they say that if your relationship often carries these characteristics, that it is a predictor of a relationship leading to divorce. So, criticism, attacking your partner's character, personality; contempt, treating a partner with disrespect, mockery, sneering, eye rolling; defensiveness, playing the innocent victim or counterattacking to deflect blame; and lastly, stonewalling, shutting down, withdrawing, and completely tuning out your partner. Now, let's get to it. How do we have feisty arguments? The truth is that having difficult conversations is hard. It's scary. I get it. I truly get it, but it's necessary. People who are securely attached know that these conversations, these icky conversations, are necessary for you to have healthy relationships. And so, the first thing that we want to do when we are maybe in the heat of the moment, or when something didn't feel right to me in a conversation or an action that I might have seen, I want to take space. I want to pause. This is so important. That pause is so important. You know yourself. You know how much time you need. You know how much space you need. As soon as you recognize that feeling in your body, as soon as you recognize the tension in your body, that's when we want to pause. Because usually when we feel that tension, that's when we're most likely to react and when we're most likely to say something or do something that we don't want to. So as soon as that comes up for you, recognize it, like, oh, okay, I know myself and I know that this is triggering me. It's activating something in me. And that's okay, right? We're human and we're all going to be triggered by something and by our partners, especially guys. Our partners are our biggest teacher. They're our biggest mirrors. It's like literally, I have a mirror right here. I'm freaking exposing myself. This is my lighting, guys. This is my lighting. But our partner is literally a mirror to all our triggers. Like, if let me put it back. Our partner is literally a mirror to all our unhealed wounds, right? So, of course, I'm going to be triggered when my partner says something. Of course, I'm going to be triggered when my partner does something. My friend, my mother, my daughter. Of course, our relationships are literal mirrors telling us this is what you need to work on. This is what's coming up for you because this is still a little bit unhealed. So yes, it's so common for your partner or anyone in any relationship to trigger you and activate you. If you can't actively listen because now you're in your mind thinking about like how do I need to defend myself right now because your fight or flight response became activated, we definitely want to take a pause. And we also want to voice this out loud. Doing this will create that secure attachment, right? We're not stonewalling, we're not creating like just a silent treatment. This is like I'm communicating, hey, I can feel myself becoming a bit overwhelmed and frustrated. So I think it's best if I take a step back right now. How about if we continue this conversation in 10 minutes? In 20 minutes, in 2 hours. And it's okay to reassure your partner and let them know, like, I just want to understand myself a little bit more because I'm feeling a little hurt or frustrated. Especially if this is not something you've ever done, it might like activate something in them. And of course, you're not responsible for their feelings, but it's nice to, have that reassurance sometimes. So, this is a little plus that you can add to just continue creating that secure attachment with your partner in that moment when you are taking space for yourself, it's so important that you ground yourself because in that moment is especially when you're going to have the thoughts of my partner hates me, they don't love me, they're against me, they're attacking me, they did this, they did that. Yes, this is the moment when those thoughts are going to come out, right? And we want to be aware of these thoughts and recognize that those thoughts are here so that we can create a separation because you are not your thoughts. And I'm not trying to invalidate your experience. Your experience is your experience. I can't take that from you. You're feeling what you're feeling, and that's allowed to be there. But sometimes we have these thoughts that are validating beliefs of unworthiness that we might have. And the situation has nothing to do with that. Hysterical, historical. If you're like super intensely angry about something, then it might have to do with something from your past. It is definitely so important that we can become grounded. And in this moment, you could use like a breathing technique. You could use a meditation. You could do a 5 4 3 2 1 technique. You can go on a walk. You can exercise to bring you back to the moment because, like I said, a lot of times we can spiral into those thoughts and we're no longer in the present. So, you know what works for you. Is it the breathing technique? 4 breaths in, hold for 4, 4 breaths out, hold for 4. Is it the 5 4 3 2 1 technique? Is it walking? Is it going to the gym? You know what works for you. You know what brings you back to your body. So we want to make sure that we're grounded so that we can have clarity. Grounding was the second step. The third step is to identify what's coming up for you. Like I said, sometimes we think that it's our partner who's triggering us, or our child, or our boss who's triggering us because of something they said. But a lot of times, this further opened a wound that you already had. It might have validated a certain belief. So let's say that I have the belief that I'm unworthy, and I've had this belief from my childhood. And maybe my partner forgets to pick up my food on his way home. It validated the belief that I'm not important, that I don't matter. And so now I think it's about the food, and you're allowed to feel the way you feel about your food, but really, 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 it's kind of validating that belief that you already have about yourself. So identify what is coming up for you, what belief is being validated through the person's actions. In this episode, we love the wheel of emotions. Identifying what you feel, it'll give you more clarity and it'll help you communicate better. So, is it frustration? Is it anger? Is it sadness? I'm going to put the wheel of emotions here so you can see it. Once you have identified what you're feeling, you can now ask why. What was the behavior? What was the thing that was said? Or What was the thing that didn't happen? What was the expectation that I had that has made me feel disappointment? So identify that as well. And you can journal all of this, right? You can be writing. I love journaling. I love having that brain dump. So you can write all this out like, okay, I felt this and I felt this when. You could also identify where in the body you feel it. And again, that kind of just helps with the grounding because it's like, okay, I'm coming back to my body. I feel fear right here. I feel disappointment right here. I feel frustration right here. It just brings you back to your body. So it's important that we have this structure, that we know what we feel, we know where we feel it, and we know why we feel this way so that we can communicate with our partner. So the fifth step is going to be to come back together and have that conversation, that difficult, scary conversation with your partner, and actively listen. Active listening is so important. Active listening is when we can listen to another person and we're not thinking about how am I going to respond, because that's what happens often, especially in disagreements and in arguments. We're kind of like on the defense mode of like, okay, what am I going to say? How am I going to defend myself? And so this is not active listening. Active listening requires your attention on that person, and it requires you to be in the present and listen to their words and actually understand them. Let them finish their sentences. Do not interrupt them. Let them have their emotion, right? Because just like your emotions are so real to you, their emotions are also so real to them, and they're both valid, right? My emotions are not superior to theirs, and their emotions are not superior to mine. And then you can respond, right? We're no longer reacting out of emotion and anger and fear. We're responding. We're already grounded. We're centered. I already know what I want. I already know how it is that I want to respond to this. So now I'm going to do it, right? So if it's me who is having an issue with something they did, I could say, when when this happened, when you did this, when you said this, I felt this way about it. Or I created this story in my head about it. Let's use that example of husband, partner forgetting the food. When you when you got home and you didn't have my food, the story I created about it in my head was I didn't matter. So I began to feel sad and lonely and forgotten and hurt. And then you give them the space to also like let you know like, hey, I'm sorry, to also take accountability, like, oh, you know what, like, yeah, for sure, like, I'm sorry, it was an accident. I was just in my head thinking while I was driving and I completely forgot, but like, I love you. Let's say that I am a friend who cancels plans often, and my friend is bringing this to my attention, and I'm feeling defensive about it because maybe I cancel plans because I have work or because I have children. And so I feel like, oh, well, like, can't you understand me? Or can't you, like, can't you see everything I'm doing? These are the automatic thoughts that might come up. And it's important to recognize them, but it's also important to validate their experience, right? You might not agree with it, and I'm not saying to agree with it, but just validate that they have that experience. It's also so important that we can take accountability if we have hurt our partner. One could respond by saying, like, hey, I really appreciate you letting me know that you're feeling frustrated, and I'm sorry that I made you feel that way. That was not my intention. Right now, I am working a full time job and I have the kids, and it's really hard for me to follow through with plans. And I want you to know that when I don't follow through, it has nothing to do with you. I love you very much, but it's just the time management on my end. I am, however, going to commit to sticking to our plans because I know that that's important to you now that you've voiced it to me. I know now that it's so important to you because you voiced it to me, right? It's so important that you're telling people what you need, because if not, they're not going to know. He should just know. She should just know. You tell people what you want and what you need, because otherwise they're not going to know, and then you're going to be left feeling resentful. I know it's so easy to just jump into that defensiveness, but it's not personal towards you. So, and when we think it's personal and towards us, that's when we become defensive and we think, I have to protect myself. I'm being attacked. This is our fight or flight mode, right? It's a survival mode and it's no longer helping us. So recognize when that's there, but also validate it. And like I said, you don't have to agree with it. Maybe you're so like in disagreement with them, and that's okay, right? Like you can be in disagreement with people and still love them and still care for them. You can have different opinions and still respect and love each other, because that's what healthy relationships are. We're not always going to agree with each other. We're not always going to have the same opinions and want the same things, and that is okay. As long as this person can have their reality and this person can have their reality, we can respect this reality and this reality, and even let them know, like, hey, I don't agree with it, but I love you and I respect you. Unless, of course, it's going against your core values and it's creating that cognitive dissonance. I mean, this is where you can assess. I have a video, I'll link it down below, about like our values and cognitive dissonance. The most important thing here is listening. We want to make sure we're listening to the person. We want to make sure we are being listened to as well. That way it can be a safe environment, right? We want the other person to feel that they can be honest with us, and we want to feel like we can be honest with them too. And when we're judging or when we're like, well, don't you see everything I'm doing? That doesn't create the safety, because if I were to tell my friend, don't you see everything I'm doing? She wouldn't feel like she could come to me in the future and let me know how she feels. I have an episode on communication styles and assertive communication, which is, in my opinion, the way we all want to be communicating. And I talk about I statements. So I statements are similar to the example that I gave earlier. It's just saying like I feel blank when blank, and then we provide the solution, right? So I felt frustrated because the deadline to turn in this project was October 27th and you turned it in October 29th. And it's a back and forth, right? They're saying their needs, their wants, their point of view in a calm, collected, respectful way. And you are too. You're saying it in a calm, in a collected, and in a respectful way. It's a back and forth. Both of us are being heard, not just me and not just the other person, because then that's not equal. So it's this back and forth. Like, this is how I felt. And then they get to like say, like, oh, okay, like, thank you for letting me know. This is what this is what I meant when I said this. It wasn't this, but I can definitely understand how it came across to you. So it's a lot of validation. It's a lot of humility, guys. It is a lot of humility. It takes work. It takes work, especially if you came from that like yelling, defensive, attacking environment. We're going to have to recognize when these patterns do come up in us, and that it's okay, because this is what you learned, but you can recognize if this is still working for you or not, and decide whether you want to change that behavior. So it's feedback, right? That's all we're doing. We're giving feedback, and feedback does not include criticism or judgment. It is constructive feedback. This is what happened, and this is what I want. Remember, you are a team with that person. You are not enemies. You are a team, and you're both building this relationship together, whether it's a friendship or it's my mother or my daughter or my coworker or my partner. We are building this, right? We both have one goal, which is to have a healthy relationship, because who doesn't want to have healthy relationships? I don't think anyone doesn't want to have healthy relationships. So we're all working towards something together, and we can get that vasopressin bonding, that vasopressin bond, which will make me feel more connected to my partner in the way that I want to feel connected to my partner. If you need to take another step back because maybe the argument is getting heated, do so. Take the pause. You know yourself, you know how you feel. And if you feel that tension coming up, just let them know, like, hey, I know we already had a pause, but I'm feeling the tension coming up again. And I really want to make sure that I'm clear headed when I'm speaking to you. So, can you give me like 10, 20 minutes and then we can come back and continue having the conversation? You know yourself, honor yourself. I feel like your partner will respect you more, and you will respect yourself more if you do this, as opposed to you saying something hurtful or doing something that's out of character. So, I hope this episode was helpful. I hope that it taught you how to have disagreements and arguments because not many people were taught this. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Let me know what stuck out to you. Let me know what you'll be using in your relationships, and let me know how else I can help you. If you know someone who will really benefit from this episode, I ask that you please send it to them, tell a friend to tell a friend. This will not only help your friend, but also it helps the podcast spread to more people and reach more populations that are also struggling with the same problem. If you haven't already done so, I ask you to please subscribe on YouTube, on Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening or watching. And I would really appreciate if you could leave us a review on any of the platforms and let us know what you're thinking about the podcast. Again, thank you so much for being here. I'm sending you all a huge hug, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.